In the other Tartaria Explained videos, make sure you go check them out in the description. So I wanted to just start with taking a look at some classical artworks. Like, didn't you think that it was pretty weird in history class when we learned about art and Raphael, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and this really does apply for literature as well, but it seems that this all came out of nowhere. I mean, according to their timeline. It all kind of starts around the 1500s and then it all picks up in the 1600s, right, with what we call the Renaissance period, and these seemingly advanced skills of painting and realistic perspective just all of a sudden appear out of nowhere with what's called Brunelleschi perspective and these two artists, Masaccio and Perugino. So let's go ahead and take a look at the history of perspective. It kind of all starts with this Brunelleschi figure and Masaccio, if they were real people. And it's interesting, they bring up here that even in the past, that the medieval artists did try to do some things with shadowing to create depth, but it's not the same as what these artists were doing. The linear perspective system projected the illusion of depth onto a two-dimensional plane by the use of vanishing points, to which all lines converged at eye level on the horizon. Soon after Brunelleschi's paintings, the concept caught on and many Italian artists started to use linear perspective in their paintings. So this guy, which was an architect, basically comes up with this vanishing point system, and then all the other artists caught on and start producing the greatest art that's ever been made. And it just seems that there could be some type of cover-up to this whole art movement that we're not really told about. Like, it really just seems like something we should question. I mean, we don't really see this kind of style of art, and you know, we learn about these early Renaissance paintings, and it just seems kind of weird. And that even with this painting, right, like this famous painting, this one's from Perugino, I think, you see these Tartarian buildings in the background with this Antiquitech on top, and what's happening here? They're giving Jesus a key. I mean, is this symbolic for something? And it just seems like this is a skill that wasn't necessarily brought about randomly, but something that was either transferred from the old world or possibly some type of technology that we're not told about. It also could be that they're just the remnants of the art from another civilization that they all kind of classified into specific artists in order to cover it up. It just seems strange that there's this abrupt change in skill level. Like if you compare the medieval art and then all of a sudden go to, like, you know, Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci, it just seems that there's too much of a change without any type of explanation on how these techniques developed in any single way. And I mean, the same goes for music and the literature. It all kind of just sprouts out of nowhere in the same time period. And it really just makes you wonder, you know, did they steal this from some past civilization? Or do these artworks themselves belong to the old world? Or better yet, maybe there was some type of technology that could assist in making realistic paintings. I've mentioned this in other videos with the engravings, and you know, some people think it's crazy, and obviously there's artists who can truly paint these types of things, but it just makes you wonder if they had automatic music composition makers and advanced astrological computing devices. Well, maybe there was some type of tech that was covered up in order to, you know, hide the origins of this whole style of painting. You know, maybe so. Maybe someone painted it, or this is a secret technique using equipment of some sort, and they don't want people to know about it. Well, the reason is because creating a new false history in which the leading figures of the new Jesuit church, right? All these artists, they come from Florence. And so they created this new false history by creating these fake artists, basically, in which the leading figures of the new Jesuit church became the leaders and the founders of this entire Enlightenment period, giving them power to rule for ages to come. So there very well could be an incentive for hiding this. There are so many paintings that get destroyed from the old world in order to protect this secret, and there are many accounts of these artworks being found in old Tartarian buildings and the whole art scam. But basically in these Gilded Age mansions, right? They had all these paintings and extravagant art and sculptures in these buildings. And again, it kind of ties into this, might be out of the scope of this video, but basically it's really just about questioning art, at least the art that we're told from the 17th century or the Renaissance period. It's to start to look at that with different eyes. So we can start there. What we really need to do is begin questioning some of the most famous artists we know, right? And most of these artists are multi-talented architects. We know that Raphael was extremely young, and again, it's all about questioning these famous figures that we were told about in history. Did they really make these? Or is there something else going on here? Leonardo da Vinci. Right, you have Leonardo and all his extravagant inventions. Let's check those out. And he was basically way ahead of his time, and he was depicting flying machines, weaponry, generators, and it really just makes you think, like, what if these are from another world or from the old world, and the new Jesuit church, right, trying to cover this up, and not only that, trying to take credit for all of this. They basically put it all on these made up figures and made them these basically superhumans who are essentially the greatest artist and generalist who ever lived. Or maybe there's something else going on. And again, you know, why would they do this? It's all about hiding this past advanced artistic society with skills that are probably beyond our imagination, or they had technology that's beyond what we view their capabilities to be. And when we look at the Sistine Chapel, there's really nothing else quite like it. And you notice that all these beginning Renaissance artists, they all have kind of a similar look and style, as if they may be using very similar techniques or maybe the same type of application or technology. You know, they couldn't just steal all this artwork, right, and then just put it all under Leonardo. I mean, it just wouldn't really work if it was just one artist. So they needed to kind of split this up between multiple artists in order to keep up this agenda of being the founder of the intellectual movement. But again, almost all of them come out of Italy, Florence. So, okay, and then you have Michelangelo, who was one of the greatest painters and sculptors of all time. So this is kind of where we get to the next mind blow. But let's just look at some sculptures that seem pretty impossible to create. I mean, there really isn't an artist today that could create something like this with the same material without using modern tools like saws and polishers. So I mean,